Good morning, friends. I am coming to you a little bit quieter than usual because I'm actually coming to you from a lobby of a hotel in the middle of Wisconsin, where I have met my audio producer this weekend. Because you'll notice that I'm coming to you in kind of this vertical mode. That's because all day long we're going to be doing an audio takeover of the internet. I will put all of the links down here in the comments so that you guys can follow us because it is release day for my audiobook. So I wanted to drop in here though and get our morning session, get in our yours in writing. And we have done yours in writing craft this week. To it, through it, and do it, dealing with your block, your writer's block, identifying the different kinds and then tackling them. And we've also done Push, Pivot, and Purge, which was a business evaluation tool to really look honestly and deeply at what is and is not working in your business. And today I'm bringing you Refine, Record, and Release. This is creative McCarthyism in the age of AI. So first of all, what do I even mean about that? Creative McCarthyism, because we are in the creative industry right now in this era where just for being accused of AI, a lot of authors are they're being shown the door. And it's really ugly. I've seen it happen with artists whose style happens to be very similar to the style that AI likes to create, and I've definitely seen it across the board with authors who are now afraid to use like literally the punctuation that they have used in their writing. Like, hello, y'all, I am a fan of the M dash. I am a fan of the ellipses. Now I use my ellipsis a little bit better and a little bit more accurate than maybe ChatGPT puts it in there. But these are good tools, and people are calling out AI. And as soon as somebody calls it, it just becomes fact because this is the world of the internet, y'all. And so if it's out there, people are just like, oh, must be true. So we're going to talk about protecting yourself in this age of AI and what you can do to make sure that you're handling, honestly, the accusations that not if will eventually come. So we're looking at this in our refine, record, and release. As always, my yours in writing is going to bring things to you in a set of three. Um, so let's talk about refine, record, and release. So basically, what we're doing is we're looking at how do you make your work better, how do you create the protections, and then how do you deal with what's happening in the AI world. So as generative AI has grown in its capability, um, you will you will eventually, unfortunately, be accused of AI um, by somebody, most likely somebody who doesn't necessarily know what's going on. Um, and it's it's going to pass. So we're right at the beginning of all of this, and because we're at the beginning of it, we're the ones that are going to be, sacrificed on the altar of this new technology. So how do you take care of yourself during this time? And that's what I really want to make sure that we're looking at. So let's talk about what that refine means. Guess what? You already have a style that is uniquely you. I was just telling Rose, those of you who followed me know that I'm also, besides Red Writes Books, I am half of Red Rose Works. And I had over 100 works that were out in some way, shape, or form before generative AI existed, because I've been in this industry for decades. I was telling Rose how sad I was for her that she did not have her first book out until after generative AI existed. Now, she didn't even know about generative AI, but that's going to be just a cloud that's always over her creativity. But as you'll learn later as we talk here, it's not like it's unique to her. So, what you do have is when you have your work, you do have a tone and a genre. You do have stylistic choices you make. For me, like I said, all of my lessons, we're going to be talking the power of three and alliteration. By the way, because that's very structured, and my style happens to be structure with creativity within structure. Guess what AI loves to do? Creativity within structure. That's also why game writers are often accused of AI usage. However, lean into your style. Make them deeper, make them stronger, make them more enhanced in those areas that you have. Your tone and your genre, your stylistic choices, your word choices, the kinds of literary devices that you use. If you lean into that, it's going to make you always able to identify, hey, of course you know this work is mine because ABC. All of these things that you chose to lean into. So how do you refine that? Think about why you make the choices you make and have that argument. Learn about why. Like, for instance, I love to do full circle conclusions. I like to come back to some little point that was made in the beginning and make it in the end, and why it just really helps it stick. I like contrast. Contrast makes something pop. That candlelight in the middle of darkness, that's a pop. I love contrast. So figure out why you use the choices you use and be able to describe that for who you are as an author, for who you are as a creative. So that's one way that you can actually deepen that skill that you are refining. Know what inspires your stories, because AI does not have inspiration, it has a prompt. And so knowing what inspires your stories is going to be very important to you. Can you advance an already used skill? Those are all different ways that you can actually lean more into refining what makes you you as a writer. Then you want to develop those things even further once you've deepened them. Find your non-digital inspirations. Are you going to lectures? Are you going to plays? Are you listening to audiobooks? And are you taking courses? Do you have a coach? What are ways that you can further develop the skills that you have? Use your own experiences or experiential writing. So this is something that I have done for a very long time. If I do not have something that I personally have experience in, I go out and get that experience in order to write it more humanly, write it more realistically. An example of this is when I did Live an Extreme Life with the extreme weight loss, all-time biggest loser of weight, Bob Brenner. I actually went through his workout with him, and they gave me like some extra weights to like wear so that I could feel what it would be like as an experience for a very obese person to go through a workout. And the only way that I was able to really write that fully is to experience it. So do some experiential writing, because you can bring something to your work that's going to be more, it's going to be deeper and more realistic and more relatable than somebody who's never gone through that experience. And then study your craft. Please always grow, always develop, and be humble, for God's sake. Just because you've written a book, just because you've written 100 books, does not mean that you are the king of all things writing. You actually need to continue to grow and continue to develop and continue to be better at what you're doing. That's how you're going to refine. This next one is a little bit controversial. It is record. We're going to talk through this a little bit, but are there ways that you are able to prove that your work really is your own? This is really preparing yourself for the possibility, and like I said, the likelihood that you will one day be accused of AI usage in a generative manner. We're going to talk about the different types of AI when we talk about the last part, but this is what we're going to deal with for now. So, do you have your research? Do you have like all of your notes and your research and the articles that you read and the things that you did and the people that you spoke to and the interviews and the niche experts, whatever it is that you did to research, do you have that kept somewhere so that people know that you have created this? You have all of this backstory of creating the story that actually went into print. Revisions. Do you have different past versions of what you've created? Let me tell you what bit me in the butt. I do a lot of like free flow writing, and sometimes I'll write and I'll create something, especially in a shared document. I'm like, there's sometimes so many people in a document that I'm like, I can't work in this, because as you're working in a document, if you're on a joint project, the words will jump around because you're in the middle of writing something, and then maybe somebody who's earlier in the document has deleted a chunk, and now what you were working on is suddenly just like, you're like, oh shoot, where did it go? So I made it a habit of, I would write outside in like a notes document or a Google document or a Word document. I'd write my whole thing and I'd paste it in. And sadly, this is something that if somebody is using AI, they're doing whole sections and pasting it in. But then I would write over that content that I had just created in my Word document and be like, oh, now I'm doing the next chunk, and let me paste that in. Let me do the next chunk and paste that in. It's something that has worked for me for freaking decades. But when people see and they go back to the history and they're like saying, oh, look at this whole chunk arrived at once. Well, that must mean it was AI. It's freaking frustrating. This is a piece that I'm still not fully on board with, like, tracking as I go through my work. I'm definitely more like, I'm trying to find a little bit of a happy ground on this one, like that makes me more comfortable, because I don't want to completely destroy a process that has worked for me for a very long time. But if you're just starting, maybe this is a good thing for you to consider. Can you keep different revisions as you're going through your work? And then I really hate this one, but you can do actual recordings of your working and you can do time lapse. The reason that I hate this one is because I don't have time to create videos and then edit them and then post them to people who are trying to call me out. You know what? I am a full-time working writer. I have a lot of crap on my plate. That said, if you really want to deeply protect yourself, it's probably the top way of proving that your work is your own, is creating this recording of you doing your work as you're doing it. So those are some of the different things that you can do. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about some of those different AIs. Here's the big thing. You're going to have a conversation, because the term AI is just so proliferated in the world now. They're just throwing it around that nobody even knows the difference between good AI and the AI that is so not good for creatives, right? It's everywhere. If you use a spell checker, you use AI. If you are using Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid or AutoCrate, you are using AI. Period. Honestly, even searching on Google today, it's going to give you the AI summary. And those tools, those are not generative AI. That doesn't mean that it's creating my work. It means that it's helping me understand the work. So with the term AI, make sure that you're willing to understand the differences and explain them to people. But different ways that you can record, you can put little updates in your newsletters. You can, put little things on your social media that are like, hey guys, this is what I created today, and this is why I created it, and this is what my inspiration was for it. And you can do teachings. You can do teachings on your process. So that's going to be some of the visions into your process that you can do for recording that are not as harsh as that full, like, hey, I'm going to do a time lapse video because I got time for that. Not. And then you want to create some of those versions for prosperity. Oh, this is a big one I did recently: licenses and contracts. So I went through with my audiobook that's releasing today. I had a cover update. And I was like, you know what? I have a good friend who unfortunately was recently banned from some conventions for suggested AI usage. And here's the McCarthyism, by the way. He has no idea who the accusation came from or on which work. That said, I took my core series. So I went through the cover and I found every single element that was in the cover and located my license for it. because if nothing else, at least I want to have that for my core series. Do you have all of the licenses for your art? This is different than your words, but a lot of authors are being accused of art AI usage. Do you have like your notes and revisions? Do you have your actual recordings? Like I said, these are the different versions for prosperity that you can have. So you can kind of, quote, prove yourself. And then here's the biggie. This is the hardest. You need to release. You cannot control the narrative for everybody. And this is really hard because we are entrepreneurs. We are solo workers for the most part. And so how can you control others? You can't. You cannot control others' beliefs, their choices, or their determinations. So there are some things that I'm asking you to release in this age of McCarthyism in AI for the creative world. One, the accusations. They will come. I'm sorry to say this, but they will come despite any amount of refining and recording of the work. So be prepared for how you are going to handle it. My first AI accusation came, and I'm going to speak a little indignantly here. My first AI accusation came from somebody with whom I was working on their first book. For me, it was my 120th, 30 plus of my 120 works were used to sample and create AI, and over 100 of them came out before generative AI. And this person accused me of using AI. I was livid. And at the end of the day, I still don't think, even though I gave all of my arguments and they accepted my work, I still don't think the person believed me. I can't control their beliefs. You also can't control the ethical lines of others, because here, as I speak about AI, I can tell you I use AI. I use it as a tool. Remember, I just said describe some of those different ways. So I use it in autocrit. I use it in spell correct. I use it in deep research. I use it to keep track of my timelines for series writing so that I don't get inconsistent. Some people are going to use it to write the book. There are some kids checking out here in the hotel right now. I told you I was always going to come to you raw, so this is just what we get to have right here in the background right now. I'm sorry for that. You can't control the ethical lines of others. Some people are going to write a book with a prompt. Let them. That's just one more voice that you're competing against as an author, and that's okay because you worked to refine yourself, so it's going to be fine. You also cannot control the results. Oh, let me double back for just a second. That little girl's having a hard day. You also cannot control the ethical lines of others who, by the way, me using it as a tool, some people think, how dare you? You're using the devil's tools. There are going to be people who think that I've gone too far. So also ugly. And then you can't control the results. You can try to take charge of things. You can not release things. You can put out different versions. You can do whatever it is you want to do, what you choose to include, what you choose not to include. But at the end of the day, somebody might kick you out. Somebody might keep you off a project. You might not get an offer. You you cannot control those results. And what I really need you to release is the emotional toll. You cannot be personally offended by the accusations. You just can't. So I'm going to be putting in the links today, by the way, on what I'm doing today on my audiobook release, which was humanly created with an entire cast. They are amazing at Sound Booth Theater. But here's what I just want to close you with on our McCarthyism in the era of creative AI. There are passionate and exciting things that you can do as a result of AI existing in the world. But it's also going to be hard. You are going to find division, but please be the unity. God, we need unity, right? And there's enough ugly in the world the painters and poets and plays, as La La Land put it. We need to bring that love into the world. So, whatever you do, don't be the person who's doing the McCarthyism. Be the person who is supporting other creatives. So you can refine yourself, you can record for prosperity, and release what you do not control. This has been Yours in Writing, which I think I'm going to have to change from saying they're 15 minutes to saying they're 20 minutes because you can get all of these. And if you sign up at redwritesbooks.com, you will not only be able to get these slideshows, just let me know that you are interested in a slideshow. I will be happy to send that over to you. But it is sponsored through the end of the year with that audiobook that I told you is coming out today. And so you will get a free ebook for which you can follow along on the audiobook. So check it out at redwritesbooks.com. And in the comments on Facebook, join us today for this takeover release of At Fault, the audiobook produced by Sound Booth Theater, the folks who brought you Dungeon Crawler Carl. Have a great day, and as I always like to say, be gloriously human.